Welcome to the Switchblade Sisters Social Club, a true crime podcast where two sisters exploit their worst fears for your entertainment. You're welcome. I'm Dee.
And I'm Rhonda, and together we are the Sake Sisters. For more information, check out our website at www.switchbladesisterssocialclub.com or find us on Instagram and Facebook at Switchblade Sisters Social Club.
Thanks for listening. Hi, my name is Dee.
And I'm Rhonda. Hi.
Hi. And this is the Switchblade Sisters Social Club. I introduced myself already. What I was going to say is that this is a true crime podcast where two sisters exploit their worst fears for your entertainment. So, again, because podcast time is not linear, I'm a few days off the back of doing my Valentine's Day event at the brewery market. There's pictures in our socials, and it was so much fun. And yet again, everyone was fucking adorable. I don't know what it is about the true crime community, but they're always adorable. And it was sold out again. So keep an eye out because we're doing another one for St. George's Day. Homegrown horrors, English serial killers, crimes, and craft beers. So do check out on our website and our socials or whatever. Brewery Market in Twickenham. Come along. It's just so much fun to meet everyone. Honestly, it's just like such an honor to be able to have nice little drinkies. I also have to say, if you don't like beer, come along anyways, because I'm not a huge beer drinker.
But they do have brownie flavored beer, don't they?
Well, I thought I wasn't a beer drinker because I thought it was all like Stella and Guinness and that's pretty much it. And it really isn't. Like Linda at the brewery market always picks these amazing different flavored beers and types of beers or whatever. So we're having one that tasted like nectarine, one that was like a cherry sour, kind of like a creek beer from Belgium, one that was like, I mean, I've gone from thinking I don't like beer to drinking stout. Because they had a tiramisu stout, which was fucking delicious. It's literally like a dessert in a glass, you know? So even if you don't think you like beers, you might like the ones that they put on offer. And it's always fun to like try new things, isn't it? Linda does like the beer tasting where she tells you about the notes and how to taste a beer, kind of like wine. And then I pair the beers with true crime cases.
And you looked really good. Cases. I had a lot of messages saying you looked really good.
Oh, really? Who said I looked good?
I told you.
Oh, thank you.
DMs are always complimentary.
I wore a pink jumper because it was Valentine's Day.
A little off the shoulder number.
But I can't do too cutesy, so it had big skulls on it. But I also have something really fun to show you. It's got lipstick on it. That is an indication of the quality of my lipstick and not the quality of this mug, because this mug is super high quality.
What's this? Oh, yes.
Wake up and smell the hummus.
Oh.
Yeah, that was from our episode, A Tangled Web of Lies, or something along those lines, about Dave Krupa.
Oh, yes. I watched the Love Triangle today on Netflix.
And there's a documentary, a new documentary.
You know what I was going to say, Dee? Your that podcast episode we did where you presented it, fucking 10 times better than that documentary. You had so many more details. So many more.
Can I just say, I went well into her background, and that was something, I don't know whether because none of it was like proven in court or whatever, but they didn't touch on any of the background. And if you remember, the background was fucking grim. Her background, the fact that her mum had died and stuff like that.
The fact that she had a kid that died.
Yeah, they didn't touch on any of that.
No, and I think it's going to sound terrible, but I think Dave got away easy in that documentary for, his involvement. Not that we like to victim blame. We don't like to victim blame, but Dave.
Smell the hummus. Yes. Wake up and smell the hummus.
He was thinking with his penis.
He was thinking with his penis. He was. Yeah, so do watch it as a kind of intro teaser to our podcast episode, which went much deeper. Just saying.
Yes, it did.
So so that's our mug. We have loads of new fun merch.
I've said it before, but when you research a fucking episode, it is nothing short of investigative journalism, hard-hitting, cutting edge, investigative fucking journalism.
Well, I don't feel like it's investigative journalism because I'm not like hitting the streets interviewing people. It's more like thesis research. That's what I
Yes.
do.
Armchair.
Academic, sitting on my sofa
Armchair
with my laptop.
academia. Yeah.
That's it.
That
Armchair
being said,
detective.
the you have interviewed a guy from the mafia only a few weeks ago,
Oh yeah, that's true.
which was also
That I did
amazing.
do.
Oh, which was
Oh,
also amazing. That guy's accent. Oh, love him.
oh, dreamy. I just want to go to
Mm-hmm.
sleep listening to it every night.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways,
We just bring on people that we fancy?
do you fancy him?
I mean, oh, he was in the mafia. That's enough for me.
Yeah, I mean, some red flags there in it, but he's reformed.
You know what?
Anyways,
I do love a guy from the wrong side of town turn good.
that's it. It's the best of both worlds, isn't it?
That
It's
is,
the bad guy
that's who I
turned good.
married.
That is who you married. Hi, Jim. We
Someone,
love you.
someone from the wrong side of the tracks.
I'm very proud of you sitting in your conservatory again after what happened
I
last
know this
time.
is the scene of the fucking crime last week. Honestly, I was afraid. Now I've got lights on, a bit more lights on. The
Is
lights
that
are
why
on.
the lights aren't on in the garden?
Yes, that fucking freaked me out last week because I swear to God, we also had got our garden. Luckily, it was just our garden that got burgled, but
Well, did you
creepy.
see I made a little teaser of that?
No, I didn't because I don't know how to use our Google Drive.
All right. Okay.
I
Well.
don't like the shit that you leave in.
Okay, let's get on to the case because this one is so good.
Okay. Oh,
Okay.
I have a story, but I'll leave it for the end segment because I always think, oh God, what if like if we get like what if we ever get new listeners outside of our usual crew and then they start listening and then we start talking about puke and shit and then they're like, oh, the fuck is this? I thought
I
this was true
mean, if
crime.
they get put off by that, this is not the right place for
True.
them.
True.
It is what it is. Um, all right, so I felt really bad because the last two cases I covered
Mhm.
were not only unsolved, but they were also like the creepiest ones I think I ever
Yes,
did. Circleville
Circleville.
letters and then the Tylenol murders,
Oh,
right? So this one I've gone for has no murder.
good.
In the hope that it'll be a bit lighter today. But don't worry, it is still severely sick and twisted.
Oh God. Something I keep saying the non-murder ones can be just as fucking dark.
I have to say, when you joined the Zoom call, I was looking for my next case,
Hmm.
and you asked, "What is that face?" Because I hadn't noticed
Oh,
that you joined, and it's because I was reading a bunch of like little summaries of different cases, and I was just like, "Oh, I cannot." Anyway, so today, tell me the
hmm.
thing.
Tell me the fucking story. Forthwith.
Today, we are going to look at the case of Belle Gibson. Do you know it?
No. Old timey?
No.
Oh.
You're thinking that because the last old-timey, oh no, I did an old-timey case about Belle Gunness. This is a
Hmm.
different one.
Okay.
This is very recent
Hmm. Oh.
in that I set up Google alerts about most of the cases that I cover. I've not bothered with Sawney Bean. I don't think there's going to be any updates on him,
Hmm.
but I do Google alerts to see if there's any updates so I could tell you guys. And there's like weekly, there's some new article about her and her
Oh.
recent activities. So if I tell you a bit about it, it might trigger some memories because I had like heard of it, followed it from afar, but
Is it
it's
about
not,
kids?
no.
Good. Okay.
Okay. She's the Australian wellness influencer who claimed to cure her own terminal cancer without
Oh.
conventional medical treatments,
Hmm.
just using natural therapies and nutrition.
Hmm.
Or did she?
Oh.
Spoiler alert, she did not.
Oh.
So in August 2013, she launched The Whole Pantry, which was a nutrition and well-being app and website. Her app was downloaded 200,000 times within its first month. And it was all based around this path that she followed to cure herself of the terminal cancer she was diagnosed with 5 years previously. She got almost like a cult following, including other cancer sufferers who were following her advice to the letter. Because you can imagine, like,
I hate this
sadly,
already. I hate this because I can
yeah,
already. It's so sad because these are going to be people who are feeling desperate and it's a last resort. Oh God. Okay.
And sometimes it's not their last fucking resort. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes
Mhm.
chemo makes you better, but it makes you
Mhm.
feel like shit, you know? And I'm just gonna now show you pictures of Belle because if you were ill and you saw this woman saying, I cured my illness, even though they said it was terminal,
Mhm.
using this method, and like a lot of the logic, a lot of the stuff in her app was good. Like it's healthy eating. It's not that I have a problem with, you know. Yes, eat well and eat like as many unprocessed foods as you can and exercise and all this, that, and the other. That's not the bit I have a problem with. The thing I have a problem with is her saying it cured my cancer. You should do this too if you have cancer. Do you know what
Mhm.
I mean? But if you were really ill and you saw this woman had done this magical thing.
Mhm.
I mean, look how well, how healthy. Can you see her?
Mhm. Yeah.
You'd want to look like that too, wouldn't you? Like you want to look that fucking healthy and vibrant as well. She's literally fucking glowing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. She's not like Gillian McKeith, where
Yeah, where you're like, I am not going to listen
I'm
to
not
this
convinced
lady.
about your diet. Yeah.
I'm not going to let you look at my poop, Gillian McKeith. Doctor. Do you remember when she got in trouble
Mhm.
for calling herself doctor? All right, well, this is in the same vein. So she got almost a cult following. But let's go back to her diagnosis. So she was told in approximately 2008 that she had an inoperable brain cancer and would have only 4 months to live. She did chemo, but no luck, so she turned to alternatives. She shared all of this journey on Instagram, living with terminal cancer, et cetera, et cetera. And loads of people started following her, calling her an inspiration. Her account was called Healing Belle, hashtag Healing Belle, et cetera, you know?
And did she have cancer?
Let me get to it.
Okay.
So like one of her followers, who was a health writer as well, said she had an incredible story, which perhaps I could relate to in a way with my own health issues. So it wouldn't just be people with cancer, it'd be with people with a lot of chronic or terminal illnesses that would look at this woman and find her
Mhm.
inspirational. Another follower, cancer patient, thought she must be doing it wrong because Belle looked so healthy and glossy. So that breaks my heart that she
Mhm.
felt like she was doing something wrong, you know? Like you shouldn't compare on social media anyways. You shouldn't compare illnesses and recovery and your journey or whatever anyways. But um so soon the fitness and wellness, this was like fitness and wellness boom, wasn't it? This time where on Instagram you're seeing all of these people promoting all their wellness and fitness products and regimes and all that kind of stuff. And Belle's following grew exponentially on social media. And, you know, I'm not saying all of it is bad, all of this stuff. Um, but when it makes people feel like shit, that's a problem, isn't it? You know, people were learning about diet and exercise in a way they didn't before. So that side is great, right?
Mhm.
That's the great side of social media is getting information to people that didn't receive it before. But as with anything, people become obsessed with likes and follows and so forth and start chasing them. This is the time of 2013 that the whole pantry was born. I got much of my information from some articles and a documentary, which I'll tell you about later, but they obviously showed screenshots of this website of her Instagram account at the time. And it looks like a really beautiful app, like one that we would want to look at because like the recipes were all healthy eating and, you know, look delicious and amazing and easy and simple and whatever, you know? Um, one of her early followers says she thought of it as something Belle wanted to share that was valuable and that it was selfless of her. So even though she was charging for this app, it wasn't a huge amount and people really felt like she wanted to like spread the love, you know? And also, like I said, it looked really high end. So
Mm.
I guess people were like, well, of course you have to pay for something to work well and look nice and whatever. She had to build it, she had to develop it, she has to promote it, blah, blah, blah. Bell also claimed that a percentage of each sale was donated to different charities. Um, she was soon invited to Apple HQ in California, which, by the way, I Googled because it came up on the documentary I was watching and was like, fucking hell, that looks insane. It looks like the techie version of the Pentagon.
Oh.
So I did a little bit of research on this because you know how you always hear about like Google offices having slides and stuff like
Yeah.
that, right? So have a look at this. Look at this shit.
My God. Whoa. That's crazy. Where? So that's in California.
Yeah. Isn't that bonkers?
Yeah. Yeah. It looks like a GCHQ.
Yeah. Did you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Tech Pentagon, right?
hmm
Um,
I want to see what it looks like on the inside. I wonder if Steve Jobs designed it.
so there's let me tell you a bit more about it. It's nicknamed the spaceship. I think you can see why. It's 1.46 kilometers squared, so it's huge. It can take, how many employees do you think can fit there?
Thousands.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how
How
many.
many? 12,000 employees. Just bonkers. It
That's a lot of
costs,
people to get along with.
it's a lot of colleagues
Mm.
and associates. Anyways, it costs $5 billion to build. Not fucking surprised. But let's get back to Belle, right? So she gets invited to Apple HQ because they are going to launch the Apple Watch. So we're talking around 2015 now. And they want the whole pantry to work with the Apple Watch. So they want her to talk about sort of developing it for the Apple Watch. By early 2015, it was estimated that in excess of 1 million had been made in sales of the whole pantry app and the book, because by this point, she's also published by Penguin. So one of her followers, Pixie, says she cut out dairy, gluten, meat, fats, alcohol, etc. You know, some would argue that that's not a horrendous thing. Lots of people say that you should kind of go back to basics or whatever, but I don't think there was any kind of medical or scientific reason for Pixie to cut out these things. You know, she didn't, I don't think, do any allergy testings or whatever. She talks, though, about this really interesting myth that I have heard many times. Have you heard about the 5 ingredient rule?
No.
Okay, so there's this rule, quotation marks, air quotes, that if something has more than 5 ingredients, it must be processed, which is absolutely fucking insane. Because like someone basically made it up on the internet. It got like repeated, and now it's considered a rule slash fact
What do you mean? What
in
are you talking
some
about? Like if you
parts
buy
of the wellness
something.
community. But it's like, think of like a vegetable soup. You could easily have like 10,
Yeah,
15
I know. That's why I
ingredients.
don't understand this
Oh,
theory.
it's not logical. It's not rational. That's why you can't understand it.
Can you
It's
imagine
absolutely,
going to the supermarket and looking at the ingredients of everything to make sure it doesn't have more than five?
well, in theory, you wouldn't be buying things like this.
Okay, because you made it from
Anyways,
scratch.
you'd be buying everything sort of fresh and making it from scratch, whatever. Who the fuck has
Oh
time?
gosh, I was
Do you
just
know
gonna
when
say,
you see
yeah.
so many videos on Instagram about why buy this when you can just make it yourself for like every little thing that you have in your house? And it's like, okay, you've just shown me a sped up video of something that probably takes you 5 minutes to make, take me fucking 3 hours. And if I had to make my own washing up liquid, my own shampoo, my own this, that, and the other, my own candles, my own essential oils, and my this, you know what I mean?
Do
I'd
you know
have no
what?
time for fucking anything.
Exactly, because and often it costs more to buy all this shit individually.
So yeah. So if you hear that 5 ingredient rule, it's absolute bollocks. I mean, it could have more than 5 ingredients and be processed, but it's not because of the number of ingredients that
Mm.
determines whether it's processed or not. It's the process which determines. Anyways, so one of the people that's interviewed in the documentary that I watched, absolutely fucking heartbreaking. Her name's Kylie. She lives in the same hometown as Belle, Melbourne, Australia. So you can imagine that's another thing that she probably thinks is super relatable, you know? Kylie was a PT. So listen to the people that are getting invested in Belle Gibson. We had a health writer, and now we've got a personal trainer. So you would have thought like these people are familiar with the industry, have some smarts about them, you know? It like lots of people fell for this woman's stuff, right?
And so was she devious intentionally?
Let me get to it.
Oh, okay.
So, Kylie was a personal trainer who was found to have lymphoma cancer. She was having treatment, which was making her feel ill, which is quite common for a lot of cancer treatments. She found out about Belle Gibson and she saw how well Belle looked and thought, I must be doing it wrong, and Belle is clearly doing it right, in quotation marks. That's her words. So she bought Belle's book, which promoted clean eating. Again, that's not what I have a problem with. But Belle was telling people how she stopped her chemo and her radiography against the advice of her doctors and just focused on doing this clean eating. Eventually, Kylie got sick of all the treatments. She was fed up, which is quite common from what I know of people going through illnesses like this, and decided to come off all conventional treatments and just try clean eating. She says, in quotation marks, I felt like I was doing everything wrong. I need to give this a go and see if it works. I trusted her. You know, this is a woman who is saying all these things publicly, supported by now Apple and Penguin. This lady Kylie even sent a DM to Belle saying, I'm a fan. And Belle replied saying, thank you. So, you know, that must have given her like such a nice ego boost or whatever. Maxine is another follower who says she came off her meds for ulcerative colitis. So not cancer, a different sort of chronic illness that affects your digestive system, and turned to clean eating only. Her health started deteriorating drastically. She was doing all of this against her doctor's advice. And she was frustrated because she felt like she was following all of Belle's rules. So not only was her health going down the shitter, literally, but she felt like a failure now as well. Which is horrible, isn't it?
I hate this woman.
Yeah, you were right too. July 2014, Belle posts that the cancer has spread and the prognosis is not good. That she's been diagnosed with blood, spleen, brain, uterus, and liver cancer. Basically like full body cancer at this point, which is weird because she's eating all of her vegetables. So how did the cancer spread? Oh, also, surprise, surprise, she's an anti-vaxxer, which is dangerous and selfish. Right? I've put in my notes, insert space for Rhonda to rant about anti-vaxxers, but we've done
Oh
it.
God. Do you know what? I try not to, you know, I obviously I'm pro vaccine. I try not to rant about absolutely everything that I feel strongly about because like I think you edit a lot of that shit out.
You know what I do? I cut it down.
Okay, because I
And
could
so the
very easily
Patreons get the benefit of the full-blown Rhonda rant, and then I just edit a bit for the
Oh
audio.
gosh,
Have you cut a fringe?
I did, yeah. Do you like it? I
Yes,
want
cute.
Brad Mondo videos.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I
Doesn't he
literally
react to bad haircuts? Oh no, he also shows you how to do
yeah,
a
yeah,
good
yeah, yeah.
haircut.
That's how we
Okay.
started. Yeah, yeah. No, I like actually cut a fringe myself
Okay, well done.
without even a mirror. I mean, this is the state of my life these days. Can you imagine?
Nah,
Cut my
yeah,
hair
I
without a
can.
fucking mirror in the shower just because it's cleaner.
Anyway, so going back to Belle.
Oh yeah, so ranting.
Well, so she's an
Okay.
anti-vaxxer,
Yes,
which reminds me of a talk that I had with an openly anti-vaxxer that I met. And not just for his own personal health reasons, because I know there are individual reasons why someone might be personally against themselves taking a vaccine, their own health, other conditions, et cetera, et cetera. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about someone who just generally anti-vaxxer, right? And he said that clean eating would be enough. And like I said, I totally agree that clean eating is a great thing if you can be bothered doing it. I'm not saying I do it. But I totally understand that it's probably one of the best ways to like nourish yourself. But in addition to vaccinations and conventional medicines, you know?
what I find like bizarre, like I totally understand the mistrust in the government because
Yeah,
we share that.
get that. But I always tell people, do you want to see what it looks like when you don't give basic medicine and vaccines to
Mhm.
people? Go look at Gaza and see how many children die of preventable, avoidable diseases.
Mhm.
That's what it looks like when a whole
And
society doesn't
also,
have vaccines.
it
And those
astounds
people are
me,
begging for vaccines. And
and
what?
it astounds me that some of these people think that they're smarter than doctors and scientists. That's what fucking astounds me,
I
that they
know. I would
think
love to see if there's any doctors that are actually anti-vaxxers.
that their Google searches qualifies them better than a fucking doctor or a scientist, you know?
I know. And I seriously doubt we've alienated any listeners with our rants because we've ranted about this before, but we do
Hmm.
feel really passionate about it because, like I said, there are places where people don't have vaccines, not because they don't want them, but because of war, conflict, lack of resources, etc. And babies die, you
Hmm.
know? I remember when I worked in a doctor's surgery and one of the doctors was really upset because there was a woman who just had a baby and she wouldn't give her baby the vaccination. She was an anti-vaxxer. And they both came out of their session crying. And the doctor was like, I literally told her, don't you understand? Your baby could die.
Hmm.
That's the long and the short of it, you know?
And while we're here, can I just say for anyone, I don't think our listeners are this behind the times, but vaccines do not cause autism. That doctor has actually been disqualified from the profession. So if anyone,
Discredited time and time again. Disqualify.
I still hear that fucking argument.
It's crazy.
I still hear that argument
Do you
among
know it's the
many
same
others.
thing as, I'll tell you another myth while we're at it. Um, the study that said that if you eat past a certain time, it's not good for you.
Hmm.
Every single person that ate later at night also ate more throughout the day in that study. The reason
Hmm.
why they were heavier or less healthy was because they just generally ate more throughout the day. It's just you got to
Hmm.
look at these fucking studies.
Hmm. And also, when you ask some of these people, where did you get your information from? The sources that they quote, the conspiracy theory websites. I'm like,
I
I'm just
know.
gonna stop arguing with you now because we're gonna get nowhere.
And that's not to say that some of these things aren't correct, but like before you kind of embed it in your fact base in your mind and just assume that it's true and go spouting it to other people, like do a little bit of proper research and just check if
Mhm.
it's factually accurate first, is all I'm saying. Anyways, this is why I like the term complementary treatments instead of alternative treatments or
Mhm.
alternative medicines. Like, I fucking love my acupuncturist. Joy is a fucking wizard.
Mhm.
AcuRemedy in Twickenham. She's fucking amazing, but I see that as complementary to any other treatment, you know? Anyways, kind of mini rant over, but now we're going back to ranting about Belle. Her followers were obviously devastated for her when they found out that her cancer had spread to other areas. But apparently, this was the point where some people started to doubt her as well, because how could she survive this long with her initial brain cancer? And how was she looking so well? If she had managed to survive this long with that brain cancer, she would be looking, she would be looking like it. Do you know what I mean? I don't know how to put this nicely, but she would
Mhm.
not be looking shiny and glossy and healthy like we saw in the pictures. So in comes Richard Guyat. I'm saying his name wrong 100%, but anyways, he is a journalist. In 2005, his wife was diagnosed with breast cancer, and he talks about the powerlessness that they both felt when she was diagnosed, and how you're desperate to take back control of your life and your body. Like, I could totally get that, on a much smaller scale. It's like that question that we got from ChatGPT about when has your body betrayed you,
Mhm.
We've all had moments like that where we're angry at our body, you know. He interviewed Belle in 2015. So this is like at her peak, right? She's being interviewed, she's in talks with Apple at this point about collaborating with them on the Apple Watch and so forth. She's published her book. And he's been writing about wellness and found out about Belle. And he was suspicious. He was one of these people that was suspicious about how she lived with a brain tumor so long without treatment and looking so well, healthy, having so much energy, etc. I mean, I told you, we saw how shiny and glossy she was.
Mhm.
She looks like a kind of Australian bikini beach body model. Do you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, anyways, first thing Richard noticed was that there wasn't much social media presence before 2014, which is kind of weird for an influencer to magically pop up, but also not that weird for people to whitewash their previous online presence when they start getting famous, right?
Mhm.
I mean, Lord knows I do it every time I break up with a guy. Suddenly it's like they never fucking existed on my
It's
social
actually very
media.
common. It's actually very common in the social media world where people delete a certain amount of posts so that the
Yeah.
follower count is much higher than the number of posts. It's a very common thing to do.
And also so that your questionable comments and pictures don't come back to haunt you when you get really big, right?
Mhm.
So I don't think this is the weirdest, but it did make him like, he couldn't find anything about her. Um, but Richard is a much better investigative journalist than me, and so he found traces of her in a skateboard chat forum in 2009. Random, isn't it? She was a 17-year-old emo skater girl, and he couldn't believe it was the same girl. I mean, I say, why not? Totally normal to go through a punky gothy stage and then come out and be like very vanilla when you become a mother, whatever, right?
Mhm.
So again, I don't think that's the weirdest, but this is why he is doing the job he has, and I have a podcast where I talk about whatever the fuck I want. Um, but he was also curious because it says that Belle was supposedly 20 in 2009 and not 17. So he's starting to question, like, how old is she? Like, her age seems to not be consistent all the time. But then he sees posts in the skateboard forum of her getting a tattoo, which is the same tattoo that Belle Gibson has. So it's definitely the same person. So he's learned that she's lied about her age by 3 years, which is like, why? That seems like a weird amount of years to lie
Mhm.
about, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't put you in a different generation.
Pointless.
Yeah. So he researches further, and on the same skateboarding forum, he finds posts where she claims to be writing from a hospital bed in Perth. Supposedly, she just had open heart surgery and had died on the operating table, but they managed to resuscitate her. Now, the reason why this is fucking weird is because throughout her online health journey, her very public health journey, she's never once mentioned that
Mm.
she had any heart problems, open heart surgery, died on the operating table. You would have thought that would come up when she's talking about her cancer journey, right?
I'm thinking, what's the fucking backstory?
I will tell you the backstory. But obviously on the skateboard forum, she had like outpouring of support and love from all these people who are like, holy fuck, like poor girl, right? It's the same kind of reaction that she gets 5 years later when she's talking about her cancer. But like I said, she doesn't mention she doesn't the skateboard forum is roughly when she was supposedly diagnosed with her brain cancer. She doesn't mention her brain cancer at all in the skateboard forums. And on her Instagram, and when she's talking about her cancer, she does not mention at all this supposed heart surgery that she made public on the skateboard forum. Right? Alarm bells, huh?
Mm.
So more and more people are getting suspicious. So, like I said, her book is published by Penguin. Penguin is a massive publisher, and you would think that they would fact check.
Have they taken it off the shelves?
Let me get to it. You always jump ahead.
Oh,
You're so impatient. So they started noticing some discrepancies too, and you would have thought they'd notice these before they go to print. I'm never getting published by Penguin, aren't I? I would love to.
they
Someone
don't
else,
fact check.
they don't fact check. Hey,
They won't
I'm
be
a very
listening.
famous author, and if you sign me, I'll make you lots of money, Penguin. Don't look that up though. So Belle had been given media training by them, which again, I don't think is that uncommon. I think that's pretty standard when someone's going to be thrust more into the public eye. Their supporters, Penguin, Apple, whatever, don't want this ambassador embarrassing them,
Mm.
and they want them to make the best impression in order to sell more of the product, right? So I don't think it's that weird that they would give someone media training, but it did kind of sound like they were giving her specific media training because they were worried about some of the things that were coming out of her mouth, right? They were preparing her specifically for the haters and the doubters, which I do think is weird. That they would think that there would be haters on someone who's got cancer. Do you know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Mhm.
I mean, there are always haters and doubters,
Yeah.
though. So even when you are entirely authentic and legitimate. So maybe that's not that weird. But anyways, they recorded this and you can see the media training, which is fascinating. Because we always know how creepy it is when the perpetrator is in the documentary themselves, right? I think it is anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So she was asked about the cancer spreading, and she said she no longer had it in her uterus. So she'd cured her uterus cancer, but she was getting tested for ovarian cancer. And these clips are really weird because you see her kind of changing her story all the time, being super vague, talking in circles, not actually answering the question that was asked, leaving you confused about what her actual point was. You know, when someone talks a lot, but when you're asked to summarize what they said, you're like, actually, do you know what? I have no fucking clue.
Yeah, they talked a lot, but they said very little.
Right. So when Richard, the journalist, meets Belle for the interview, when she's promoting her new book, he says the first thing is that he noticed that she does not look sick in the slightest. She's fucking radiant, as Spark Company t-shirt says. You know, they've got this line of t-shirts that say, I'm fucking radiant.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways. The second thing is that she acts much younger than you would expect. He says the interview was really difficult because she would not give him any specifics. And she claimed apparently her illnesses affected her memory. Okay. You know, it's hard when someone says they're ill to question that, right? He asked her about the extra 4 cancers she'd recently been diagnosed with, and she confesses something to him. Confess in quotation marks. She says she no longer sees the doctor who diagnosed her with these extra cancers because she has suspicions about him, and that she doesn't think that she has these extra cancers. Now that's fucking shocking, isn't it?
Oh,
So now Richard's on a mission to prove that she doesn't even have the original brain cancer either. But Belle catches wind of this mission and she calls him herself and says along the lines of how the media stories can be damaging to vulnerable people who might commit suicide. So she implies to him if he carries on with this line of inquiry that she's going to kill herself.
mhm.
I mean, this woman is a master manipulator, narcissist, gaslighter, right?
Yeah, it's scary how someone can be so twisted but get so far, got to this point
Right?
without somebody noticing.
I don't want you to worry. She gets her comeuppance. I didn't want to leave you with like an unsolved
Hmm.
crime this time. But it's not just Richard at this point who's getting suspicious. It had come out that she had dropped out of school at 15. So what? But they did find out that she had promised $300,000 dollars. I don't know if that's American or Australian dollars, but still, fuck ton of money to charitable causes from her business. Remember, from the sales of her app and so forth. And that had never reached any of the charities. And apparently, people from her inner circle were now reaching out to journalists to say they didn't believe that she was sick. I mean, she's clearly fucking sick in the head, right? Now we have an interview with Bo Donnelly, who's a journalist. He says it's very difficult to write a story about someone not being sick, right? Because you don't have access to their medical records. And that's right. That's the way it should be. But you have to be very fucking sure before you accuse someone of faking an illness. And how do you do that without the records, right? So they started rooting around in what they could see, like company records. I'm sure it's similar to here in the UK because a lot of Australia's systems are based on British ones. I'm sure they have some equivalent of Companies House where you can actually go and download the account of any business, which is quite fun. But they have a little look at her financial records. By the way, this is a little aside. She has a child, and at her kid's party, after she found fame, she collapsed in front of the guests and started convulsing, which must have been fucking terrifying for the guests and the children, especially knowing that she's ill, right? One friend that was interviewed on the documentary soon said that as soon as she said she was going to call an ambulance, Belle came out of the seizure and was fine. Like I said, all of this was in front of Belle's own child. This
Mhm.
friend says that even after she was diagnosed with the 3rd and 4th cancer, she was still going to tanning salons and occasionally went out and got wasted. The woman who's like, clean living, give up alcohol. Nothing wrong with going out and getting wasted, but own up to it. I am drinking Kraken and Coke from my mug because I have woken up and smelled the hummus, and this woman has not. This friend who was talking about this kids' party actually confronted her and asked to see some kind of evidence. And she says she doesn't keep her medical files because of the negative energy. So the friend asked what hospital she went to, and she said, Belle says, she didn't go to a hospital. A doctor came to her house. But like to do scans for cancer at a house, that's really weird, right? The friend asked what the doctor's name was. And Belle says, Dr. Phil.
It isn't me, Dr. Phil.
I don't know, but it just made me laugh.
Okay.
Then Belle claims that this doctor has actually disappeared. All of this conversation happened the day before her book launch. So people are getting suspicious, right? Like really suspicious. Journalists, her publisher, her close friends. The ITV documentary that I watched, because I watched two, spoke to a neurosurgeon. Not Belle's neurosurgeon, I should specify. She didn't have anything to do with Belle herself, but they asked, like, you know, in your medical opinion, is this possible that this woman has been diagnosed with a terminal brain cancer, told she's got 4 months to live, she's living 5 years on, supposedly with more cancers, and looking so fucking healthy? She says that it's highly unlikely and that the patient would look moribund, in quotation marks, which means ill as fuck. Like she would look like she was dying, you know, at death's door if she had managed to survive that long. Belle started defending herself online, saying that as a startup, they were having difficulties and had bitten off more than she could chew. That goes back to this claim or this fact that she was not giving the charity money, you know, the charities, the money that she had promised them from sales and so forth. But journalists were coming out with pieces about how she wasn't even ill at this point, and the backlash online was fucking intense. I mean, social media is a cruel place to even make a small mistake, but this is fucking huge. Not giving money to these charities it's illegal anyways, because if you are stating that you're giving money to a charity or to a specific fund of a charity, that is where it has to go, and that's just what it has to happen, you know? So I hate online trolls, but I think even I would struggle to not post something on her if I was following her, because like, can you imagine how devastated and betrayed you'd feel? Especially if you'd made some serious life choices off the back of what she's saying, like coming off your meds.
That's the
for
scary
whatever
thing. She's
illness.
played with people's health.
I know. Like I say there's no murders, but she could be indirectly responsible for some people's deaths or early deaths, because I haven't seen any facts and figures about that. And hopefully everyone caught on to what a fraud she is in time, right? So Kylie talks about when she found out Belle was lying, she felt betrayed by her, in quotation marks. Why would you pretend to have cancer? I felt like it made me look like an idiot. She's not the fucking idiot. Maxine says, how could I be so stupid? And Pixie says, I felt really disappointed in myself for having been tricked by her. It's like, it's not their fucking fault. Do you know what I mean? Why would anyone lie about this shit? I mean, obviously for fame and fortune, right? One of Belle's friends was interviewed anonymously, and this was super insightful. She claims Belle left home at 12 and lived with friends. So here's the backstory. This friend met her when they were both 14. They were friends instantly, but even then you knew you couldn't believe a word she said. We've all got friends like this, don't we?
I don't.
No, not anymore, because we're like of the age that we are.
Yeah, but you come across
as
friends like
as kids, we all had that friend, right? That always had some fucking ridiculous story, you know. If you went to Tenerife, they went to Elevenerife. We always had everyone's known someone like this, right? Like one time she came to school with an arm sling and she hadn't even broken her arm. So, interestingly, at this point, there's a group called Belle Gibson Uncovered that appears on Facebook where people share their Gibson stories. I think I called her Belle Guinness. Belle Gibson Uncovered. They share their Belle Gibson stories and analyze every one of her posts. Within 2 weeks of the story breaking that she's not giving money to the charity and it's very unlikely that she's ill, Penguin withdraw her book. But I say, shame on you, Penguin. How do you publish a book in the first place for people, a book that's giving medical advice by someone who's not a doctor and don't get it checked out? That feels highly irresponsible to
Mm.
me. Same with Apple. Like, she is not a doctor. She's not claiming to be a doctor. Get it fucking fact checked before you publish it. You're a reputable organization. And the fact that she's published by Penguin, appearing on Apple, is what made people trust her even more, right?
Mm-hmm.
On that note, we're going to have a break. Hello. Part 2. So, 3 months later, after she's been outed as a fraud, financial fraud, pretending to give money to all these charities, and a health fraud, I guess, pretending that she's got all these cancers that she's managed to, cure herself of or delay the inevitable by eating vegetables, basically, right? So 3 months after this all comes out, Belle appears on 60 Minutes, which is a current affairs show in Australia. She looks fucking fabulous, but very sad. But not apologetic. She's clearly sad that she has lost everything. She literally says she has lost everything, which is so narcissistic, isn't it? No shame for the people that could have seriously
Well, she wouldn't
impaired
have
their health.
she wouldn't have that because she'd been doing it for such a long time that she clearly doesn't have that. But it's also shocking that she wouldn't at least fucking fake it.
By the way, from what I could find, she was paid between 45,000 and 75,000 Australian dollars for this interview.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was thinking, why would she do the interview? And then I saw how much she was getting paid. And I was like, that is for why. So I actually watched this 60-minute interview. I found it on YouTube. Links to all the sources in the show notes. Belle claims that natural therapists duped her. But they prove that that's a lie too, because she says there was a machine that was used to diagnose her with cancer. It was a box with 2 plugs that go on the chair. And she claimed that she had doubts herself about the doctor that diagnosed her with cancer, but no one ever found any trace of this doctor. And when you have any kind of tests or health care issue, you see so many different people
Mm-hmm.
in the process, don't you? And she
Oh.
saw just one doctor who brought a little box and tested her for cancer at home. She actually shared her medical records with the TV show. She had a consultation in 2011 because she thought she had MS, but she didn't. But the brain scans at the time showed that she had nothing wrong with her brain. This was 2 years before she launched the website. So this
So
is when she
why did
supposedly had brain cancer.
why did she show that on the TV show? Because that
I don't
didn't
think
help
she
me.
realized,
Mm-hmm.
she was obviously smart in a manipulative, evil way, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't think she was smart in a bunch of other ways.
She is really giving Dee Dee Blanchard vibes.
Well, interesting you say that. The host asked if Belle thinks she has Munchausen,
Mm-hmm.
where you fake illnesses basically
Yeah,
for attention or
I was
some
gonna
kind of
ask,
gain.
but I didn't know how to pronounce it.
Belle says no, she doesn't think she has it. But I'm thinking this is because she genuinely has convinced herself that a doctor lied to her. So
Okay.
when she said she had cancer, she believes that she genuinely
Okay.
believed she had cancer. She's a victim of this whole scam as well.
So she is delusional. Is she a liar or is she delusional?
Can't she be both?
I don't know. I would have thought that if you genuinely believe it, you don't think you're lying.
Yeah, well, I'm not entirely sure. Either way, she's clearly not well. But how many people died because of her advice? We will never know. Several of her followers believe they suffer from orthorexia, which is an obsession with eating healthy food, and an anxiety-inducing obsession with healthy eating that made them ill. I don't think I had this. I'm not claiming I had this, but in the times where there have been times where I thought that I was being super healthy, but actually I had to be so obsessive about all the food that I was eating and the exercise. I would get really stressed out if I couldn't hit my macros one day, if I didn't do the exercise I was meant to do in a day. And I realized that actually this is like not good for me, the way I was doing it. So I just have like the tiniest little inkling of what that feels like, and it's awful. So I feel for those people that got that as a result of this. In the words of Pixie, wellness is seduction, and you can never reach peak wellness, so you are never good enough. That's a telling phrase, isn't it? Belle was fined £250,000 for her false claims of making charity donations. She's never paid this fine. In January 2020, her house was raided by police and they seized items to recoup some of her unpaid fines to try to make up that cost, which, due to interest and costs, exceeded $500,000 at this point, $500,000 Australian. They seized items and raided her house again in May 2021. Rumor has it she is working in a Melbourne school and she shares something in common with Levi Belfield. Can you guess what it is?
No.
She converted to Islam.
Oh my God.
And yep, again, on behalf of my Muslim brothers and sisters, they don't fucking want you.
Why do people hide their sins behind religion?
I don't know. And I don't know if they think like, oh, I got to make it as noticeable as possible. So let's make it Islam rather than just like Christianity, where I'll still look visibly the same.
And by the way, there's absolutely nothing wrong with converting to Islam.
No.
But I'm a fan. But
Yeah, I don't really, not a huge fan of any religion, but
yeah,
some people do it genuinely, let's say.
I support people's choices as long as it doesn't hurt other people. But why do people hide behind religion? You know, as if it wipes the slate clean.
She's claiming to have been adopted by the Ethiopian community, calling Ethiopia her home, and giving herself the Ethiopian name Subuntu. She's like the whitest woman in the whole world. You saw pictures.
So what?
She claimed to have been volunteering within this community for 4 years. And I want to just show you, because she's still on Instagram. It's a different account.
She didn't go to jail.
No, she didn't go to jail. She didn't pay her fines.
So what comeuppance did she get?
Yeah, actually, maybe you're right.
I was thinking that this
but
was
look,
gonna end
I
that
want to
way.
show you her Instagram account now, okay? Now that she's a Muslim of the Ethiopian community. Is it actually hers? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe actually, sorry, because I've just seen this post and I feel like, would she post this herself? Maybe it's a piss take. I don't know. But this is a genuine picture of her here, this profile picture of her in her new life.
Wow. So that's
however,
all that happens. That's all that
however, an official from the Ethiopian community has come out and said that this is absolute bullshit, Kel Surprise, that she had been to like 1 or 2 events, but not volunteering for 4 years, and she's not been adopted by them. She was trying to get involved in fundraising for them. And they were like, no thanks.
Wow.
I tried Googling if she'd even been to Ethiopia, and apparently since she got fined and refused to pay this fine, she has actually been to Africa and Bali. So she's still living the life.
So what is her backstory? Why did she leave home at 12? Where are her parents? Did she have them?
Well,
do we know?
Wait. So she was obviously has a lifetime of profiting from people's vulnerability. She was endorsed by some big names that gave her legitimacy with no due diligence. But I have some good news to report. Kylie, you remember Kylie, the PT? She's cancer-free now, which is great. But yeah, what is wrong with Belle? Like you said, is she lying, or was she herself either convinced by this charlatan doctor, or did she genuinely in some way believe that she had these illnesses? Luckily, it wasn't Munchausen by proxy because she had a kid, you know? But I wanted to look into what Munchausen is a little bit. It's a factitious disorder imposed on the self. And I've got a quote from a Guardian article. Munchausen by internet, the sickness bloggers who fake it online. And I hate that that's in plural, that Belle's not the only one. So I'm going to read this because it's a bit of a long quote, but it just explains it so well. Various psychological theories have been proposed, including unconscious motivation, childhood deprivation or trauma, creating a positive experience of the sick role. Emotional upset was kissed better. Emotional wounds were bandaged. However, early trauma is often impossible to verify. IQ is normal or high in most patients, and personality disorders are common. Borderline personality disorder.
You know, it's interesting because I was going to say there must have been trauma in her childhood, and is this BPD? Because it screams it. But I didn't want to say that because, you know, I'm obviously not
well, again, we don't know if this is the case for Belle, but a lot of this is kind of making sense.
Yeah.
Borderline personality disorder in up to a half, and narcissistic personality disorder in up to a third. The most severe cases are linked with another personality disorder, sociopathy, formerly known as antisocial personality disorder, characterized by a pervasive pattern of disregard for and violation of the rights of others. Its hallmarks include deceitfulness, manipulation, disregard for the safety of others, and lack of remorse. This deceit entails repeated lying, use of aliases, or conning others for personal profit or pleasure. I mean, not a doctor, not a psychiatrist, not a Belle Gibson who fucking knows everything, but that fucking sounds like her.
Yeah, I mean, well, the fact that she left home at 12 and that her parents would have allowed that, or that she wanted to get away from them, I'd love to know the story.
I've written in my notes here, I know what you want. You want to know what happened to her as a kid.
Yes.
And her relationship with her family.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes. Yep.
Right. Well, the ITV documentary that I watched interviewed her brother. In the media training video with Penguin that you can see in one of the documentaries, she says she's not in touch with any of her family and she's not comfortable talking about it. Fair enough. The ITV documentary found a former friend from when she was an emo kid. They were best friends. They even got matching tattoos. And this friend supposedly hadn't even been told about her heart surgery. So at the time she's having this heart surgery, she's not even told her best friend who she used to get matching tattoos with. Weird, right? She did an interview with Women's Weekly called My Lifelong Struggle with the Truth. This is Belle Gibson. When the story breaks, and makes out that she came from a broken family, that she was the carer for her baby brother. It turns out she's younger than her brother. So even after she gets busted for lying, she's still lying. But in this interview, she admits that her previous story was untrue. But now she's just making up a new discourse, right? Belle's mum then called Women's Weekly, the editor, and hurled abuse at the editor. Natalie, her mum, and Andrew, the stepfather, were fuming because they were like, why are you people still not fact-checking anything this woman says? Her own mother was like, none of this is true. And it's crazy, isn't it? Like, you're interviewing someone that you know is a natural-born liar, and you don't check the facts.
Do they just want to sell papers?
Of course they do. But also, wouldn't it be more dramatic if they were like, this is what she told us, but then we actually did 5 minutes of research and found out she's still lying? Anyway, she claimed her brother had autism. Nothing wrong with that, but it was also not true. So the brother was like, I'm not fucking autistic. And the mother was ill. So Belle, again, was the sole carer for the mother, which again, not fucking true. Natalie wanted to apologize to all the people that Belle hurt. So her own mother is showing remorse that Belle is not. The editor and journalist went to dinner with the two parents, the mother and the stepfather. Apparently the mum did have MS. I don't know if they fact checked this. Natalie, the mum, said that Belle was a difficult kid and she did have a difficult childhood. I guess we're never going to know the full truth about this, you know? Andrew met Natalie in 2011. And Andrew being the stepdad and Natalie being Belle's mum. Natalie's illness got worse and she actually died in 2017. Nick, her brother, also had problems with Belle because obviously she's saying he's autistic. She was his sole carer when she's younger than him, etc., etc. And he's visibly pissed off that she lied about the family, that she lied about him having a bunch of things that she needed to care for him for. He says they were close growing up and that people actually thought they were twins because they looked so similar and the age difference wasn't that big. Belle grew apart from her mum when her mum had started dating dickheads, which, you know, you can understand. Andrew says that Belle moved when she was 13 to 15 and she moved in with an old man down the street. She's like, what the fuck? The brother says she didn't like this guy and she didn't know him. And even the brother said the mum should have investigated him more. So again, I'm getting red flags here because like you say, why did she want to leave? Why was she allowed to leave?
The other thing also is the mother, as bad as Belle was, you would have thought like a parental instinct would still want to protect them and not publicly say, don't believe my daughter, you know?
Yeah. Does it change when they start saying things about you, when they start putting people's lives at risk? I don't know.
I think you would, the message would be different. It would be,
It would come out different.
I'm sorry for what my daughter's done. We're getting her help and support rather than don't believe a thing she says. You know, those are two very
and
different
look,
things.
I wasn't there. I don't have a transcript, right? So maybe it was like that. I don't know. But clearly she's had a very difficult childhood at an age where she's still a victim, not a victim, but she's still an innocent child.
And the mother also, I mean, letting your daughter, your teenage daughter, move in with an old man, fucking bad news.
You would drag them home and lock them up, I would hope. Finally, they interview a psychologist. Not her psychologist again, because if she is getting any help, and I'm not sure she is, they clearly won't be able to talk about it publicly. And they ask the psychologist, why do people lie? Did she believe her lies? And this psychologist thought that Belle's lies became her reality. She just created the life she wanted. The attention, the care that she craved, she got it when she pretended to have cancer. And like, that's fucked up, but you can kind of see her method to her madness, right?
Yeah, I mean, that is a textbook case, you know, like it's almost predictable that there was trauma in her upbringing and that it's potentially BPD, and you know, it's
so it is really sad that she clearly did not get whatever help she needed early enough. But at the same time, she put so many people's lives at risk. And I'm going to end with one really like heartbreaking fact. In 2013-14, so when she started getting really big, she did some fundraising for a child called Joshua Schwartz, who also had brain cancer. And the parents now think that she purely befriended them so that she could replicate his illnesses, so that she could learn what the symptoms were and pretend she had them. She even said for a while, anyone buying the app, 100% of the profits would go to the Schwartzes, and they never saw any of it. So I get that this woman is ill, but she also did some fucked up evil shit. So sources, BBC documentary called Bad Influencer, The Great Insta Con. Wikipedia for the Apple HQ and Munchausen information. ITV X documentaries. So both of those documentaries are online on BBC iPlayer and ITVX. It's a two-parter called The Search for Instagram's Worst Con Artist. The Munchausen by Internet article in The Guardian, and then the YouTube, the 60 Minutes Australia episode, which can be seen on YouTube. Links in the show notes. So yeah, no direct murders. Hopefully no indirect deaths as a result of her terrible advice. Hopefully these big names, like, people have learned to fucking do your due diligence and fact check before you publish books by people. Especially when they're giving advice not in a field that they're trained in.
So her app got taken down.
Yeah, you can't find her app anymore. You can't get access to it. I'm sure you could. I wonder if you could find her book on like eBay or something. I bet it's
I was
going
just
for
thinking that.
fuck tons. Let's have a look. I'm sure it contains lovely recipes. It's just not the thing you want to use. No, I'm not seeing it. I mean, how dangerous, right?
Oh, it's awful because it's playing with other people's lives, you know?
Yeah. So that's the case of Belle Gibson. But like I said, I have Google alerts set up on her, and there's constant things of her
And
popping
her poor
up.
daughter.
I don't know if she's got a daughter or a son. Can't remember, but still heartbreaking. She's still not paid her fines. They managed to catch up with her at a petrol station, and the journalist was asking her when she was going to pay her fine and blah, blah, blah. And she looked so hard done by stuff. But anyways, hopefully she's getting some help for the issue she clearly does have, so that she doesn't damage anyone else in the future. Yep.
Jesus.
Right? I think we need some
People's Pulse. Oh my God, we need a palate cleanser. Okay,
People's Pulse. I don't even know what the question is.
You don't, but do you remember a few weeks ago we did what would you do for 100? Was the worst thing you do for 100? And it was a bit of a duffer question because we didn't have that many responses.
I think our listeners are so wealthy that they're like, find 100 pounds in my fucking sofa. I don't need to do anything.
But then we talked about let's up it. And let's see. And now we had a lot of responses, so I upped it.
Thank you. What did we up it to?
10 grand.
Right. Okay.
Now,
so to put that in perspective, that's a really nice secondhand car. That's a luxury holiday for multiple weeks. What else could you do with 10 grand?
So, well, those are the things I was thinking. So it's not enough for a deposit on a home in the UK.
No, not in fucking London.
So it's not, and I don't think anywhere in the UK if you consider solicitor's fee and stamp duty. That's the thing. And so it's not life-changing, but it's the kind of money where you could have a life-changing experience.
Yeah, where you can make some really cool memories.
Yeah. So I was thinking like a fuck-off holiday to the Maldives for a few weeks, maybe even a month out of season.
Yeah.
And like you said, a secondhand car.
Decent car.
Home improvement. Yeah. New bathroom, new kitchen, that sort of money.
New kitchen or something, yeah. It would be like, I'd say that's like fairly life-changing.
It's worth getting your hands dirty for. You know? With some contemplation. So we had quite a lot of responses. Now, okay. So we had Isla, and you may remember her from
last week.
Books. Yeah, really good books short. She said, I'd lick Russell Brand's nipple, then bite it off. And I replied with puke emojis because that is gross.
That is gross. Oh, sorry. Can I just, I'm seeing where these are going and I need to pour myself some more rum. Sorry.
Okay, so then I texted Jamie. We all know Jamie.
Jamie.
I do some pretty disgusting stuff for 10 grand in my current situation. There's not much I think I would be able to refuse. Then she said, I'd run a marathon, lick a bin, eat a fly. She really put some thought in this. Give a big public speech, sell feet pics. I would eat meat, cut my hair. And to give context, she has big, beautiful blonde curls. Climb a mountain, spend a month not talking to anyone or going on social media. Get stung by a wasp. I mean, like, I would do some of these things for a lot less. I'd get stung by a wasp for a lot less.
I'd do all of these. No,
Yeah.
I couldn't eat meat. I told you, I think that's the one that I would really struggle with.
Oh, hold on. Get in a cold plunge pool at the gym. Oh my God, I would do that for so much less. It's not pleasant, but you know.
I do that for 100 quid.
Yeah,
I do it
100
for
grand.
less. I do it for a tenner.
I would do it for 100. It's painful, Dee. It's
It
painful.
is painful. Would you shave your head for 10 grand?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, same.
So give up coffee, chocolate, bread, clean a crime scene, cut grass with scissors. Willing to do any of this, you find a person who would pay me. Then I said he would clean a crime scene for 10 grand instead of like after the police have been, because that's a different thing. Cleaning up a crime scene.
Oh, right. Not covering up a crime.
Yeah, so not
Just
being an
mopping the
accomplice.
floor
Yeah,
after forensics
yeah.
have been involved. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you know, I would do a lot worse, I think, than a lot of those, you know?
I do like 3 or 4 of those for the 10K. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So then,
Like,
a bundle
yeah.
offer. So then, my good friend Karen said, I would record myself playing piano naked. For context, she is a musician.
But where is it going? On social media?
Yeah,
She's
I
also
guess
got
so.
a gorgeous body.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, again.
So you'd show off your gorgeous body and your amazing musical talent for 10K. How
So
brave.
then my sister-in-law Steph says,
Steph, she's a
okay,
new
so
one.
yeah, so she says, if I wanted to provide a list of which terrible things I'd prepare to do for money, I'd start on OnlyFans. Okay. And then she said, David, my brother-in-law, has been firing scenarios at me to help try and whittle it down. So far, we've established that I'd push a kid off a swing for 10 grand, but I wouldn't tip somebody out of a wheelchair. Moral compass, she says. Okay, so there's some thought. I love it when people give it some thought. Then, oh no, that was it. That was it.
I too would push a kid out of the swing.
For 10 grand doesn't hurt. It's low to the ground. It's low to the
I'd
ground.
probably also tip someone out of a wheelchair, but I would give them some of the money. I would give them some of the money.
I remember we used to play this game. We used to play this game that, like, if you could do something awful, but give the person half the money, but you can't ever explain to them why you did that terrible thing to them, what would that figure be? And that's an interesting one. I like these games because
I wasn't going to give half. I was going to give him like 2 grand, and I thought that was generous.
But like, what's interesting about these questions is, of course, they're funny when it's disgusting stuff, but it's also interesting to see, you know, the more morality, you know? Okay, so then, because I immediately thought like disgusting stuff when I thought about this question, what's the most disgusting things? So it's interesting that like moral stuff's coming up. Anyway, okay. So then, I gotta whiz through because my phone's gonna die any second. Okay, so then we got your friend who you met in York, Joe, who asks if you are interested in going out next time in York. So she said
Fuck yes, Joe.
She said she would hide a body. So 10 grand, I wouldn't do that.
For who? For whom?
Look, you know, the only people I would hide a body for is like you and family, you know, and I wouldn't charge a fee for that. But if anyone else, no, the figure would have to be more because the risk, you know, outweighs 10 grand. Then our dearest favorite Sam, he said, I'd happily get both of the Switchblade sister portraits tattooed on me. And then he said, hang on, that sounds bad, being the worst thing.
Yeah. Also, I bet if we paid for that tattoo, he would just do it for free.
Yeah. So he said it's the most extreme thing he would do. But yeah, I'm sure we could convince him, you know. So then we got Susie. Okay, so Susie says, I think the worst thing I'd do for 10K would be to kiss my ex-boyfriend. I don't mean a little peck. I mean a proper snog. I would also maybe eat fish if we could have an ambulance on standby. Then for 1 million, I'd be prepared to spend an hour in the company of Katie Hopkins, Piers Morgan, and Elon Musk without murdering any of them or using earplugs, but I would need to have speedy access to a shower. So we feel the same about those people.
I'd sit in a room with them for 10 grand though.
Yeah. I mean, 10 grand. Yeah.
And I would hope that it was their money, at least.
So, Hold on, I think there might be one.
I mean, I'd want 1 million, but if someone actually came up to me, if there was some weird scenario where that was actually possible to get 10 grand for sitting in a room with them for an hour,
Absolutely.
I couldn't say no.
Okay, so Lynn. Now Lynn said she has a real phobia of like snot and phlegm. She said, I would not eat snot.
Oh yeah.
I would not kill anything else I would do. And that is true.
Wait, didn't Lynn say about the piano?
No, that was Karen.
Oh, Karen. Sorry, I
Yeah.
thought it was Lynn. I'm gonna have to edit that whole section. But Karen also has a gorgeous body, so
yeah, she
yeah.
does. I was just at the spa with her on Friday. I
Yeah.
can confirm. So yeah, I didn't even think of mine because you know what? As per usual, I want to see what everyone else said and then decide. But what's yours?
I'm trying to think, would I go out with an ex for a month for 10K?
Ooh.
No. Wait, which ex? Maybe Freddie, my favorite ex-boyfriend, because that would
But
just
when you
be,
say go out with, like to what extent, you know?
oh,
Exactly. You know, a lot of variables
okay.
there.
I would go out with Freddie for a month, but no other exes. So Freddie, take that as a
I
compliment.
hear he's back on the market.
Huh?
I hear he's back on the market.
I don't know why I sounded excited. Huh? I don't care.
So, okay, what else for 10 grand? My brain is only thinking about disgusting things I would do for 10
Yeah,
grand.
no, I would have sex with,
Oh, you would?
yeah, but there's a level, like on the spectrum
Okay.
of grossness.
Mm,
Do you know what I mean? It would have to be
mm.
like around here.
Oh, you see, for me, anything like that's gonna have to be 50K or more.
That's what I mean. It's on the lower ends.
Okay.
Anything getting
Camshaft.
to like, yeah, it would have to be much more, but like,
Yeah, see, I don't think I could because I'd have to be able to get over this for 10 grand. Like we're not
I could have
talking.
sex with someone that I had no banter with or no connection with that wasn't ugly. Oh, I sound like a dick. Do you know what I mean?
So
Like,
like some of your
I'm not attracted to them, but they're not like gross to me.
okay. Yeah, see, I don't think for 10 grand I
Because you
couldn't do
also got
it.
to think about the amount of time and effort put into it. Do you know what I mean? So we're talking what, like a 5-10 minute
I
experience to
know,
get
but you also
10K?
have to think about the aftermath. I have to do something that's not going to traumatize me afterwards because 10 grand is not really, therapy is expensive,
Yeah,
you know?
true. What's the
So,
grossest thing you would eat for 10K then?
name me some things.
Oh,
Frog, no.
frog, no. Snail?
No, couldn't do it. I mean,
Uh,
frog,
someone
no.
else's snot?
Hold on. Snail, if I swallowed it whole, if could I put it in a capsule and swallow it whole?
I don't think you can put the snail in the capsule. Could you eat someone else's snot?
No, it, it would gross me out for too long afterwards. I'd have to think about how long afterwards is this going to cause me trouble.
Yeah, I think I would though,
It's not, no.
because it's like quite a small, quick thing. Do you
And
know
I
what I mean?
wouldn't you know, I wouldn't go down the sexual route, not even a hand job, because for 10 grand, no.
Not even a hand job.
No, not for 10 grand. That we're gonna because there's the whole morale. You gotta live with yourself afterwards, For 10 grand, no, no. 10 grand. I'm trying to think what I would do for 10 grand. Give me some other scenarios.
Would you
I don't want to do anything morally nasty because I won't get over it.
would you go to CrimeCon naked?
No, not for 10 grand.
Same.
Because I'll get in trouble with the police.
If there was no getting in trouble with the police, but everyone saw you.
No, not for 10 grand.
Would you'd cut off your hair? Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
of
an
course.
easy one.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, look, for 10 grand, you can buy some decent wigs.
Yeah. Would you wear some fucking ugly, weird clothes for a
Yes.
month?
Yeah. I can go anywhere.
But where everyone's like, is she having a breakdown? What the fuck is wrong with
Yeah.
her type clothes?
A month, 10 grand. Yeah. Yeah. How ugly are we talking?
Like the worst,
Like what?
like
Like,
not even like ugly cute, just like a proper grandma. Do you know what I mean? Like really bad.
Could I have the time off work while I'm doing this?
No, you got to do everything. You got to do school runs. You got to do Zoom
No, but that's not
meetings.
what I'm talking about. It's like, do I get like compensation for not having to
Yes, you get 10 grand if you do it. What more do you want? Jesus Christ.
Yeah, 100% I would do that. Can you tell people, look, I'm not having a breakdown?
No.
Yeah. I think everyone's too
You know, you could tell
polite.
people, you're being sponsored by this clothing brand, so you're wearing their outfits. What do they think?
Yeah,
Can I
yeah,
just
10
say,
grand. Yes, I would do that.
I'm
Yeah,
wearing an actual cool brand called Hobo Jack.
that's nice.
Yeah, cute, right? They got some cool
So
t-shirts.
yeah, I would do that. Yeah, I would do that.
Would you um would you
Would you do
go
that? Would
on
you
a
do
dinner
that?
date with Donald Trump?
For 10 grand, yeah, I would. I wouldn't, but as long as I don't have to touch him, of course, I would, because like I would have it out with
I mean, it would
him.
just be a whole dinner of us hurling abuse at him.
Yeah, I would do that. It's a great opportunity.
Yeah. Um, would you?
Would you?
Yeah, I would do that.
Okay.
Because like I said, I would just be really
Yeah,
fucking mean to him and then
yeah.
get 10 grand. Would you kiss a friend's ex? Oh, no, I hate that one. I
No,
don't
because
think I
it's a
could.
moral thing. That's a
Yeah.
moral thing.
No,
And
I
that can
know, but
destroy a friendship and then long term,
yeah,
that's a long
but this is a more all of these are moral questions, aren't they?
and I prefer the gross
It's
ones.
we're basically asking at what
I
cost
prefer
will
the
you
look at
compromise your
10 grand,
morals?
flat out, nothing, no moral things for 10 grand.
Yeah, same. Um, Apart from
A
having
city,
sex with a
I don't think we're talking, but not 10 grand, no moral things. It would probably just be disgusting things.
yeah. Would you lick a dog poo?
I don't think I'd get over it.
Don't know.
I puke for too long afterwards, you know?
Yeah.
That's
I
what I mean
actually
by
genuinely don't know if I could do that.
yeah, it makes me feel a bit like it makes
Yeah,
me
no, I think we're talking 50 grand for that.
yeah.
That 50 grand for me to start thinking about whether I could do that. I can't even begin to think about
And
it
I would
at
need to
10.
see the 50 grand in front of me while I do it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
no, the money is guaranteed in all of
No,
these
but you have to
scenarios.
see it in front of you in
Oh,
piles.
right. Like to actually do the act, you
Yeah.
need to,
I need
yeah,
to see it
as the motivation to do it. Yeah,
at
I get
like in stacks, or I need to see it on the screen,
that.
you
I
know,
get
to
that.
while I'm doing it, you
To
know?
remind yourself, yeah, for the
Yeah.
motivation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
What else? Give me a couple more. This is fun.
Would you do a marathon?
No, because it's too much training.
Yeah.
I mean, like it's not like a quick thing.
No.
You know, it's like months, isn't it, of training for that? No.
Yeah, I mean, you could in theory do the marathon without, any training,
Yeah.
but then
No,
you'd
I
probably
wouldn't
end up
even walk
walking
it.
most of it and dying.
Yeah, I wouldn't even walk that for 10 grand. No, I wouldn't do it.
I'd walk it for 10 grand.
How many hours would it take?
I mean, you can take breaks
Oh, okay, fine. Do that.
for 10K,
Mm,
even if it took like 12 hours. I mean, okay,
yeah.
let me do some math. Wait, 1 second.
Oh, 12 hours of walking? Yeah, I would do
Wait,
that.
I need to average walking pace. Um, Average walking pace is, let's say, 5 kilometers per hour,
Hmm.
and a marathon is 42 kilometers. So that is 8.4. So presumably you get slower
Hmm.
as the time went on.
Oh,
So
oh
I'm
yeah,
gonna say with
I'd walk
breaks,
100% I'd
12
walk.
to 13
Yeah, yeah,
hours.
yeah, yeah. For 10 grand, I would do that. I would
For
walk.
10K, yeah, fuck that.
Yeah.
All right. Interesting.
Can you not think of one more disgusting one?
Would you hold a frog?
Could I wear gloves?
No.
Is that, you know why that's a toughie? Because I'd want to say yes, but you know, instinctively, I don't know if my body would allow me to. Like, when that game where you have to like that trust game where you're supposed to fall back and let
Yeah.
like it's
You
like
wanna
that.
you wanna answer this honestly. So it's like you want to say yes, but actually
No, I
could
think
you?
I would go to try, Or like, you know, if you're going bungee jumping and you're trying to, but you can't because your body's
What
not
if
ready.
someone had to hold your hand out? Like if you were basically forced to.
So, do you know what else? The trauma of me, my body would go into shock. If I had to touch a frog, my body would go into shock. I'd be screaming, I'd be terrified, I'd be shaking. I think maybe my heart would be racing. I think maybe it might be too much.
It
Might be
might be
too
the
much.
death of you. Yeah.
Yeah, it might be too much because that's like my ultimate phobia.
Yeah.
So it might just be actually too much.
What about a lizard?
Yeah, I would do that because I did hold a gecko a while back, but I didn't enjoy it. I didn't like it. I obviously had to scrub the fuck out of my hands. I wouldn't be able to do it now because I've got more squeamish and scared.
Unless you
I'd do
got
that.
10 grand?
I would do that for 10 grand. Depends what a gecko, not a lizard.
Hmm.
They're different. I don't
My
like
biggest
geckos.
phobia animal-wise is spiders, but I would hold one for 100. So I think my phobia is much
You
less.
see, I'm okay with spiders. I'm sitting under a huge one right now. I'm looking at it right now. I'm
Nope.
actually
Oh, I feel sick even
in my
thinking about you
conservatory
being
is
next to a spider.
full of, yeah, it's right there. It's right there. And it's a big one and it's a fat one. And I'm actually okay with them. As long as they're not on me, I'm okay with them. If they're
So
not,
weird.
if it's in my bed, I'll freak out. And if it's on me, I mean, I've had a lot of spiders on me. And I don't know, for some reason, living in a detached house, you get a lot more spiders, you know? And because they just can come in from all
Humble
fucking
brag.
corners. No, I realize what it kind of sound like. No, but like, you know,
First world problems. Oh, there's so many spiders in my detached house.
well, I mean, I'm comparing it to when I lived in the flat and you don't get as many spiders.
Yeah, no, that's
Maybe that's
true.
what it is. Maybe that's what it is. Um, so I've kind of become okay with them. Um, yeah, I've kind of become okay with them. Yeah. Okay. Not on good terms, but okay.
Yeah, right. Well, that
Well,
was
I
interesting.
enjoyed that. I enjoyed that. And next, do you know what? It's interesting.
What's the next price bracket?
Wait, well, you know, when you go from 100 to 10K, people get interested.
I think we should do 100K next
Mm-hmm.
because that
Mm-hmm.
is a deposit on a property.
Yeah. Or 250. And that's a flat.
Yeah,
That's the one bedroom flat in London.
and a nice car probably. No,
So,
just a flat.
so
All right, do 250.
that's a life-changing amount.
That is life-changing. That's
And
paying off your mortgage or buying a property
and I have
or
to say, I'm telling you now that for 250, it's not much that's not on my list.
right?
The life-changing amounts, I mean, I would get
That's
over myself.
probably never working again.
Is it, D? I don't think it's never
No,
working
it's
again.
not. It's
What
not.
are
Well,
you
it
talking
depends what you're
about?
used to living on.
Yeah.
But it's a life-changing amount. It is
Yeah.
paying off your mortgage or buying a property or starting up a business
Mm.
or something, right? That is a life-changing amount.
That's generational wealth amounts.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
all
So
right,
that,
that's
yeah,
the next price bracket. But
yeah.
let's have a gap in between. All
Give
right.
people some thinking time.
Yeah. So what should our next question be?
You know what games I love? And I hate games, but I really do like these kind of games. And also like, would you rather, you know, would you rather do this horrible thing or this horrible thing?
I remember, how about would you prefer to murder someone and get
Oh,
away with it, or have everyone think you've murdered someone, but you didn't?
well, that one, because it involves not murdering somebody.
But everyone thinks you murdered someone.
Let them think, but you know that you
Let them
didn't.
think. Yeah.
It's between you and God. Yeah, obviously the second one.
All
But
right.
then I'm
Okay.
coming from
Well,
a
if that one's too
perspective
easy,
of,
because I agree, I'm the same.
yeah,
I don't give a shit what people think.
well, exactly. That's what I was going to say. I'm coming from the perspective of who gives a fuck what people think, you know? I guess it matters more. I'll tell you one thing that's changed my perspective on, you know, what people think. When you are self-employed, it matters so
Yeah.
much less. You know, I'm not
Yeah.
afraid of being
Because I
fired.
just had a, a, a parking, not a parking fine, a speeding
Hmm.
situation that I forgot to open the post for. You know, I'd had an operation, I had COVID,
Mm.
blah, 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 so I forgot to, went to court, was talking about a criminal conviction, and I was like, wonder if I've got a criminal record now. And then I thought to myself, nah, I work for
You know,
myself. It doesn't
it's
matter.
funny that you say that, because the other day I was thinking, like, I've got 3 points on my license. I would have 6 if I didn't attend this driver training thing that I have to go to. But if I was teaching, you have to declare those points, you know? You do. And there was a case where somebody almost didn't get the job because they didn't declare them, because they just didn't think it was a big deal, and it was found out. And yeah, anyway,
I
so
mean, unless you're driving the kids.
you're not. So yeah. So what people think matters even fucking less than it did before, because
I think is it Duncan Bannatyne
mm,
on Dragon's Den, where he said that he'd come out of the army, I think, and basically got a criminal record. So he's like, well, no one's going to hire me, so I might as well work for myself.
yeah,
And kind of makes sense.
it makes a
Anyway,
lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense.
all right. Well, I am going to go now.
Love you and
We
love.
still haven't decided on the next people's polls, but we'll think
gotta
and we'll
think.
chat.
I think a would you rather.
All right.
I
I
love
actually
would you
have
rather.
a game called Would You Rather, so I'll have a little look and see what the questions are, if they're interesting or not. Maybe we
Yeah.
ask a few.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
I love you. I love our sexy listeners so much that I made sexy listener merch. Go check it
Buy
out.
it.
Buy it. Support us financially,
It's for
please.
you.
Remunerate us. All right. Love you so much. And
Mwah.
see you next week. Bye.
Okay. Hey there. Thanks for being a loyal listener.
Do you need a new website or want to boost your social media performance? Or do you hate podcast editing? You've tried optimizing your website and social media channels, but you're still not getting the listeners, downloads, and engagement you want?
We, the Switchblade Sisters, love helping people with tasks that they hate. We know a thing or two about podcasts, websites, and social media, and we love working with other podcasters and business owners.
So why not head over to Switchblade Sisters Social Club.com and go to our Work With Us section. We believe in collaboration over competition. A rising tide raises all ships.
Bye!